going on, everybody? I'm Nick.
And I'm Caleb.
And we're your two new best friends. So today, Caleb and I are going to tell you our favorite shows on Netflix. We compiled a top 10 list. But before we get into that, Caleb, how's your week been?
My week has been pretty great, Nick, and fellow friends that are listening.
Right.
So it started out, same old, same old. I work at Best Buy. I think I introduced that in the first week's episode. Well, over the weekend, starting Friday, so all the bosses and managers, I guess they're taking their PTO time or something, all starting that weekend. So what they're going to do, they do this every once in a while. They have a top salesman, get some prizes. And normally I don't get to compete because I'm a door greeter, I guess. Security guard. I check the receipts.
Sure.
It's nothing
You're like the bouncer of Best
It's
Buy.
nothing glamorous, but I enjoy it. I get to interact with every customer that enters the store, exits the store. Anyways. But they were like, Caleb, guess what? It's your day to shine. And I was like, okay, let's do it. First day.
What is it? What do you do?
Yeah, so essentially, as a salesman, you would think whoever produces the highest revenue, I guess, is that the word?
I guess so.
Sales.
Yeah, most sales, most profits.
You would think that would be what they go by, but at Best Buy and other stores like that, they actually want to promote as much as possible, which I don't even know if I should be telling this.
Oh, we got a little insider information about Best Buy.
We might bleep it out because
Okay.
I don't want to be my boss or anything. But
Sure.
anyways, Nick, they go by credit card applications.
Okay, yeah. That's a lot of places. I know Izzy had
or subscription memberships.
Izzy had a job interview at Books A Million. Here's some Books A Million insider
Okay.
information. They only want you to sign people up for magazines. I once fell for this Ponzi scheme because they say, hey, go ahead and get a month free of magazines. Oh, a month free of National Geographic and New York Times? That sounds nice. But they don't tell you that they go ahead and roll you into a year membership.
Yeah.
And then you can't cancel it through through Books A Million either. You have to cancel it through the magazine company.
And that's a lot of, by that point,
Yeah.
you don't even feel like doing it.
Right, exactly. So anyway. Continue.
Anyways, so they got two types of memberships. They got the credit card application, which gives you up to 24 months interest-free financing and all the shenanigans, and then you can get 10% back. It's actually a pretty good deal. And then they got this Total Tech with the Geek Squad, where they look at your stuff, fix it for a whole year, and things like that. So I get off the door. I don't have to greet people starting out Friday, and I'm there all day. Well, I ended up getting first place. I got the most out of everybody. And I think I beat the second place guy by 2 applications.
Okay, so it was real neck and neck.
And I won me a book bag. It was a pretty legit book bag, Under Armour Best Buy book bag.
Okay.
I have to show you a picture of it. Inside the book bag was a Best Buy gift card.
Oh.
And a journal.
Okay.
Guess what I did with the gift card? I sold it. Well, I traded it for the second place winner's prize. There was 3 prizes on the table.
What was the gift card value?
$10.
Okay.
I didn't think it was that much of a big deal.
And what was the second place prize?
A Under Armour duffel bag.
Okay. That was a bad trade by second place, I feel.
It has Best Buy written all over it, but still. It's a nice gym bag.
So now you got all the Best Buy swag. Okay.
Second day. Okay, this is yesterday, Saturday. I work all day again. They're running another contest. There's 3 prizes like the day before. I get out on sales floor. I double Friday's amount of applications.
Okay.
I got 8.
Okay.
The day before I had
4.
No, actually I had 6 the day before. My bad. I had 8, so I increased it by 2.
Okay.
Second place, guess how many he had?
2.
He had 4.
Okay.
So I doubled second place.
Right.
So, I mean, I think I'm a pretty humble guy, but it made me feel good.
Sure.
You're
like the LeBron James of Best Buy credit card
because
applications.
Everybody, they make fun of me because they're like, oh, Caleb, you got the worst job in here.
They make fun of you?
Well, they're like, Caleb,
what's
you
there
got
to make fun of?
The worst job in here. You're a door greeter. Ha ha ha. All
Yeah.
you get to do is, but then
Yeah, you're like the old man at the Walmart.
yeah. And half the time, I'm not doing a good job and things are getting stolen and I get yelled at.
Okay.
But put me out on the floor, I'm just like a tiger, just devouring all the prey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So did you get, what was there different prizes on the second day?
Yeah. I was about to mention the prizes. This is where it gets more entertaining. I got another book bag. I picked out a different one. It wasn't Under Armour. It was like Ogio, you know that brand?
But still Best Buy all over.
Still really nice.
Okay.
So I got that price. Inside of that was a Best Buy water bottle and a wireless charging dock.
Nice.
So that's pretty good. Gets better. One of the fellow associates, one of my coworkers, he did not win at all.
Right.
But he really wanted a book bag. He's a book bag guy.
Sure.
He
Book bag guy.
He offers me a deal that I could not pass up.
Okay.
He said, "I'll Venmo you $40 for that book bag."
Dang. Yeah,
Here I am.
Y'all are trading stuff like kids at a cafeteria, like
I
little
know.
Debbie's and
And
fruit snacks.
he said, "You can keep the stuff inside. I just want the book bag." Here I am. I'm like, I won 2 bags the day before. Might as well get $40.
Sure.
So I mean, it was pretty entertaining for me. I had fun with it.
Okay. Cool.
So shout
cool.
out to Best Buy. They really treat their workers nice. So.
Nice. And if you ever want to steal anything from Best Buy, make sure you go when Caleb's watching the door. All right. Well, going off that, we can go ahead and get into
Nothing happened with you?
Nothing of note.
No.
I had this realization that I haven't been wearing deodorant over the past 5 years. I've been wearing antiperspirant.
Yeah, you didn't know that? You're
I-
supposed to be.
I just came to the realization.
Well, antiperspirant's what you're supposed to be wearing.
Okay, yeah. So I always get the same deodorant every time.
What's that?
Degree Intense Sport.
Oh, you're like an old man.
Is that old man deodorant?
Kinda.
Intense Sport?
But it's degree.
What deodorant do you use?
I'm
Old
more-
Spice. Axe.
Sometimes I use Old Spice. Sometimes I use let's see, Harry's. I think they have a deodorant now. Maybe not. I use their body wash. It smells amazing.
I don't know. But so I always get the Degree Intense Sport. But then this time, I went to get some deodorant. I'm low on deodorant. They didn't have the deodorant I usually get. So I was like, I guess I'll just stick with the same brand and get this other one that says Active Sport.
Yep.
Close enough, right? So I get home and I open it and it's not that white powder, whatever that white soap consistency almost. Yeah. It's like that gel-ish.
Ooh, I kind of like the gel.
Not the gel that you push
it's
up.
just a stick.
Yeah. And I was like, this is different, but
Yeah.
okay. So I put it on. My armpits are feeling all gooey and slimy. I don't like it. 3 days later, I got these rashes under my armpit, man. And so I went back and finally they restocked. So I got my correct deodorant. Or not even deodorant because I looked, and this is the first time I ever noticed, oh, this is antiperspirant. This other thing I got is deodorant. I never looked at what it is. I just always would go, oh, Degree Intense Sport. Snag that. I never made this realization. But now...
So, listeners, do y'all know the difference between antiperspirant and deodorant?
Well, antiperspirant, by the name, it's anti-perspirant, so it makes you not sweat.
Yeah, which
And
is
then
good.
Deodorant just deodorizes your sweat, right?
Which makes no sense. That's why they sell it deodorant and antiperspirant, which is what I try to get. It's a 2-in-1.
Mine's not a 2-in-1.
I mean, it was still...
Should I switch to the 2-in-1?
It's game changing if you haven't been already doing that.
Well, what's the point of deodorizing the sweat if you're not sweating at all due to the antiperspirant?
You'll still sweat a little bit.
You have a lot of armpit hair?
Do I?
Yeah.
I have quite a bit, I guess. I don't feel that it grows any longer than it has been for the past 10 years. But
How many?
do you ever shave your armpit hair?
I trim it up because I'm a pretty hairy guy.
Oh, I guarantee you.
So
you're not hairier than me.
It'll start to peek out
Whoa.
my arms.
Past your
Like
shirt?
if I were to put my arms straight by my side like a royal guard or something, you could like see it kind of like bubbling
With your
out
shirt
right here.
on.
Yeah, obviously.
I was thinking like where your shirt.
No, definitely not.
It was like poking out there. I was like, dang.
There was a girl in my middle school class that I sat next to, and she had her head down, and I looked over, and her armpit hair was flowing out.
Was
no
that your-
shame? No shame in that.
Was that your first time seeing that in middle school?
First time seeing a female with armpit. Yeah, I don't even think I had armpit hair in middle school, or maybe I did. I was just getting it. So seeing those flowing locks of armpit hair really caught me off guard.
Girls
And
be having flowing locks?
That's what I'm saying. This is what this girl had, and
Ugh.
you know, have armpit hair if you want. That's fine. It's
How do you-
natural. But but I looked at her a little negatively because I remember asking her for a piece of paper one day. She had like a whole stack of printer paper, and we had free time. I was like, "Hey, can I get a piece of paper so I can draw?" She was over there drawing. She said no. Like, bro, you got 300 pieces of paper right there. I can't have one sheet of paper.
You don't know what she was doing with that 300 sheets of paper.
She was drawing. I was watching her.
Maybe she was drawing a whole, like, I don't know.
A
What are
300-page
they called?
art collage.
Yeah, the little graphic novels.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, and you were interrupting that. Maybe that's all she could afford, and she was trying to kick off her graphic novel career.
All right, well, I'm sorry
Exactly. You better
if you're
be.
listening. Okay, so let's go ahead and hop into our top 10 list. I actually had a lot of trouble making this list. I also kind of came to the discovery that most of the things that are on my list are shows from at least a year or more ago that I had watched.
So, that you watched in the last year or so.
No, a year or later.
Okay.
Like, I feel like a lot of the things on Netflix that I've watched recently didn't make my top 10.
Oh.
What about you? You got a lot of new recent things on there?
I feel like some of these came out probably a year ago. I like new things.
I got some new stuff.
But,
Did you have any trouble limiting your list to 10? And we also have ranked them from 10 to 1 as well.
I did not. So, funny thing, how I made my list was like, what are the top 10 shows that I can think of? And I just stopped at that. I didn't investigate anymore.
Yeah.
And even before we were filming this, you saw me. I was going through the top 100,
Netflix shows.
viewers or something. I don't know who that's made by. Probably
Maybe by like top 10 like best reviews.
yeah, it's probably an
Rotten Tomatoes, maybe.
accumulation of reviewers. But I couldn't find any, so I was like, well, this is perfect. This has to be in my list. So I just did that.
Yeah, when I made my list, I came up with like about 14 shows.
That's hard to cut down.
I know, and then I struggled cutting down. I'm still a little. My number 10 is my top. I would say my top 7 is solid as a rock, but down from there, I could probably put in all my honorable mentions as well. But let's go ahead and just start. So we'll just go back and forth, and if I say anything that's on your list,
I will say this before we start.
yeah, go for it.
Did you notice a like a scheme or pattern with your shows? Like, was there
Kind of like a trend of genre.
Yes, was there a certain genre that they're all tied together, or are they different?
I'll say pretty much my whole top 10 list is one genre, but 3 of my top 4 are not that genre.
Wow.
Yeah, so we'll get into that. So you want me to start, or you want to start?
You can start.
All right. So my number 10 best Netflix show is Big Mouth. I have that as my number 10.
That's funny.
Have you seen Big Mouth?
I've seen Big Mouth.
Big Mouth not on your list?
So I found the first season quite hilarious.
Yeah.
I think the first time I watched it, I feel like I was with you, or I remember we watched it at my house at one point in time, and my brother was over there, and he had just gotten out of a place where he was not being able to watch television.
Sure.
So he was like, "This show is amazing."
Right.
he was mind blown.
Yeah.
Anyways, so let us know why it was on your top 10, and I will kind of chime in on that.
Yeah. So it is definitely the raunchiest show that I have on here. It is probably the raunchiest comedy show that I watch, even though it's an animated show about preteen children. So those of you who don't know who are listening, Big Mouth is a animated show about kids going through puberty. And it's a heightened version of that, obviously, because during their puberty they get visited by these hormone monsters who guide them on their journey of maturity. But it's super raunchy, a lot of masturbation jokes, sex jokes, but they also do, I like that they do it evenly, because most shows are like, oh, it's all like dude dick jokes, but you got some vagina jokes and boob jokes, so
there's lots of just unnecessary scenes that I wouldn't like to take back out of my...
Yeah, Izzy hasn't watched it, but when I watch it and she comes in and she walks in and it's like a scene of a 13-year-old boy masturbating in the bathroom from his parents. She kind of gives me this look, and I'm like,
she definitely probably questions y'all's relationship when she walks in.
You think?
I mean, she might think that's some kinky stuff that you're into.
No, that's the thing though. They're children on the show, so it's not like anything sexual. It basically, so the reason it's on my top 10 list, I obviously like the show, that's why it's on my list. It's really funny. It's made by Nick Kroll, John Mulaney. Yeah. John Mulaney is one of the funniest comedians. It's got Maya Rudolph in it. She's hilarious. But it portrays something that I feel a lot of shows haven't, that like puberty. We all have went through puberty. We all have those really awkward moments, but no one ever talks about them. And this show basically just puts it all out on the forefront and heightens it, satirizes it, humorizes it.
Definitely. I mean, I feel like most of that has went through people's minds that have already went through puberty, but the show just takes it to another level, which is why I did watch the first season all the way through, but then the second season, it got to a point where I just wasn't enjoying watching it because it was too much. Mm-hmm. I will let you know that.
Okay.
And I know they even released a third season. I'm sure it takes it to a whole new level.
What was this? They always have like a new villain. Oh, see, this time it was, the whole thing was like shame, like being ashamed of yourself and how to overcome that. See, it's super raunchy, super dirty, but underlying, it's a pretty beautiful message about accepting yourself. Okay. So, yeah, that's my number 10.
I'm not the biggest fan. It's not on my list.
It is super dirty.
It's super dirty. It's funny, though. I don't recommend it for kids.
It's probably dirtier than South Park.
Yeah, the stuff that they put on, like, it's all animated for sure, so they can kind of go crazy with it.
All right, go ahead and give us your number 10.
It's funny that your number 10 was animated, because this is the only animated show that I have on mine, and it's number 10.
Okay, what is it?
It's Midnight Gospel. Have you seen that?
I've watched like 2 episodes of it.
What did you think?
Well, it's basically just well, why don't you explain what the show is, and then we'll kind of have a dialogue.
Yeah, so he does this kind of video podcast, I believe. So he's from the future, and he has like a time machine, but it's also like a machine that can take him to any galaxy, planet,
dimension.
Yes. And so what he does, he will hop into this machine. It's funny that Big Mouth is your number 10, and it talks about all things to do with the human anatomy, because this machine is just a big old vagina shaped like
portal thing.
Yes, and it's pretty funny watching him just kind of get sucked in there.
So what is what's the show about? That's the premise of it.
Yeah, he gets in there and he just interviews people, and he has like a video podcast kind of series that he does, but he'll video anybody. He just goes to a random planet, and whoever he sees, he'll walk with them while they're doing life and just talk.
Yeah.
So it's really relaxing. The visuals are amazing, and it follows this kind of pink-looking dude who's kind of a hippie, and I see myself as a hippie. And it's relaxing, honestly.
I watched
lots of deep messages in that show. So
I watched about 2 episodes, and then I just kind of it got to the point where I felt like they were rambling just to ramble. So it's basically just a podcast. It'd be like if someone animated what we're doing right now, but we were like running around a crazy planet. So the visuals have nothing to do with the dialogue. And I just kind of found it's just basically like listening to a podcast and looking at some cool visuals.
Yeah. But
there's no narrative at all.
Well, because you only watched 2 episodes, but
is there an overline?
In the finale, I'm not going to give anything away because we're recommending these shows. In the finale, something happens that's going to flip it for season 2.
Okay.
So it does kind of follow the main character, Clancy, and even though he's just mainly doing a podcast, it's still a story developing and unwinding before the viewers and listeners' ears and eyes.
Right.
So I enjoyed it. I know quite a bit of people that have watched it as well. They like it.
Yeah, it was recommended to me a lot. I just couldn't get into it. All right, so I'll go ahead and go with my number 9. My number 9 is a show called Middleditch and Schwartz. And what that is, I would put it actually higher if it wasn't but only 3 episodes. So Middleditch and Schwartz is Thomas Middleditch from Silicon Valley, other shows, and Ben Schwartz from Parks and Rec, Jean-Ralphio, and all other type of things. It's those 2, and what they'll do is they'll go onto a stage. It's a live stage, and they'll talk to the crowd a little bit and ask them, like, hey, what's something interesting that happened to you? And then they'll make a whole hour-long play off that premise, just those 2, where they're playing multiple characters. It's live. It's all improv. Like, it's all off the top of their head as they're going. It's super funny. Like, sometimes they'll forget, like, what their character's name is, and they have that awkward little moment. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say about it, but it's like a stand-up special made for me. Because I find stand-up specials to be kind of boring. It's just one guy talking for an hour straight. But this is kind of like that, but it's 2 dudes bouncing off each other. At one point, they're like trying to capture an alien in this classroom. So you got one dude, like, now he's the alien. Then one dude's this girl. And they're like going back and back. And then if there's like a big argument, you'll see him move from one side of the stage and run to the other side. And they'll go like back and forth, back and forth. But
so no costumes. It's just them.
Yeah, no costumes. But the way they do it is hilarious.
Okay. They kind of remind you of Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yes. Imagine if they did a scene for a whole hour.
Okay.
And it was just really funny. I love Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah, I do too.
So yeah,
shout out to that.
Yeah, if you like Whose Line Is It Anyway, then you'll love that show. It's 3 episodes. They're an hour long each.
Yeah.
Middleditch and Schwartz. So that's my number 9.
Remember, we've tried to do something like Whose Line Is It Anyway? With some friends of ours.
I used to do improv games all the time in my
it's pretty
drama class.
I thought it would be easy, but it does take. You got to be around the right people. You got to be.
And I don't want to toot my own horn, but when me and Stoika used to do it in drama class, we'd be bringing the house down. We'd have the drama teacher dying laughing, asking us to go back up there. We'd be like, the premise would be, hey, you're on the way to Disney World, but I'm a cop and you're like getting
Well,
pulled over, and you just come up with the craziest stuff
Did
as you
y'all
go.
create the plots, or would she?
I there would always be like a premise. Like she'd come up with a premise, and then you'd have to go up there and do it for 5 minutes, you and your partner, and just make the scene last. Now you had some people who'd go up there and be like, "Jesus, this 5 minutes was like 50 minutes," because it's not their thing. They're kind of shy. You know what I'm saying? More quiet. So obviously they're not comfortable doing that.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, I love doing that type of stuff, and this show is two of the best doing it. So very funny. I would highly recommend that. So
Okay.
Caleb, what's your number 9?
My number 9 is the Umbrella Academy. This is a fairly new show. Before I jump in, was this on your list? Because I know you were watching it around the same time I was.
It was one of my honorable mentions.
And that's why it's so high up there for me, because I loved the first season, right? But the second season, I just felt like it was a cop-out the way they did it. And I'm not going to give away too much.
I think I liked the second season more than the first season.
It was enjoyable, but the storyline I felt was like a cop out to the first season. If you know what I'm talking about,
it's all kind of starting to flow together for me. Like what the second season was. The first season,
they pretty much undid everything that happened. We'll edit this out.
Minor spoiler alerts. If you don't want to know anything about the Umbrella Academy, skip forward.
Yeah. And we'll do like a thumbs up when
right. We'll try not to. We're not going to do heavy spoilers, but we're just going to talk about the vague overall plot of the show.
So Vanya, she was like the main season finale of the first one, right? She was like about to explode everything.
Okay, yeah.
Well, she pretty much did.
You didn't like how they went back in time? She was like,
I pretty much forgot everything.
Yeah.
I just felt like that was a cop out, and they could just
right. Because then you're spending the whole first season.
They wanted her to still be like connected to them, but they were like, well, she's the most powerful one. How are we gonna get past that?
So basically, her whole first season arc, they just redo it the whole second season. Her finding out who she is, and the second season, she does it all over again.
Yeah.
I love that little time traveling guy though. That's my favorite character.
Mm-hmm.
I also like what's his name, Luther.
I think the acting is it's funny, it's comical. There's a guy in there that reminds me of the guy we were talking about last week, Woody.
Yeah.
The whole
the guy who runs to the cult.
Yeah.
I
think all the actors in it are good. Elliot Page, she stars as Vanya.
Yeah.
And then there's some.
He stars as Vanya.
I thought I said they, but.
Oh yeah, they.
Congrats for him.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyways.
So
it's a pretty good show.
Yeah,
if you like superheroes and things like that.
I came very close to putting it on my list, but I just could. Honestly, I could have maybe put it at 10 over Big Mouth was the one where I wasn't. That was the one I was just picking randomly who to put in at that spot. All right.
I think it made my list because I wanted to finish watching it. Like I wanted to watch it as quickly as possible.
Right. For
and
sure.
We're going on.
All right. So my number 8 is this show called Documentary Now. And what this show is, have you seen this show?
I think I watched one episode of it.
All right, so what it is it's a series of mockumentaries, and what that is they shoot it like a documentary, but it's all fake, and it's to make fun of documentaries pretty much. But it stars 2 of the funniest people from SNL. I love SNL. It stars Bill Hader from It Chapter 2, Barry, Inside Out, Clyde with a Chance of Meatballs. He's hilarious. And it stars Fred Armisen, who is just the funniest guy ever. He's just so effortlessly funny. But it stars both of them, and every episode is a different documentary that they're making fun of.
Yeah.
So one episode
real documentaries?
Yes. They're real documentaries that they're parodying. And sometimes it'll be, like, I don't know if you've ever seen Grey Gardens, but it's about these 2 women who were related to the Kennedys, and they basically lose all their money, but they still they pretty much go crazy, and they like, I don't know, it's just these two really interesting women, but they make fun of it, and and then Fred Armisen plays like the grumpy old mom, and Bill Hader plays the like 30-year-old daughter. It is so funny. But my favorite episode is the one where they make fun of like a band documentary.
Okay.
And it's a two-parter, and it's about their band, the Blue Jean Committee.
Okay.
And it's about these two guys from Chicago, and they were gonna just go into like sausage college to learn how to just make sausages. But then they ended up singing together, and someone was like, "Hey, y'all are pretty good." And it basically follows their whole career from the start of their band in like the 60s all the way to present day. They break up, they have a whole falling out, and they reconvene their like legacy, you know what I'm saying, award. It's just hilarious. So many small jokes. If you like The Office, you'll really like the show because it's like low-key, awkward humor. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But yeah, I love that show. The new season they just came out with doesn't have Bill Hader and Fred Armisen in it, but they bring in like new comedians every time. I know that one of them had Owen Wilson, and they made fun of whatever that Netflix documentary is where the cult moves into that town, and they have like the cult leader, and they're having the battle with the small town. Well, Owen Wilson plays the cult leader in that one. That one's pretty funny. So yeah, that's my number 8.
I think I would really enjoy that.
Some of the episodes aren't as good, but some of them are really funny.
I think it scares me with that. Now that I'm thinking on it, I didn't watch an episode. I think I watched the trailer, and I think it threw me off because I'm a real big fan of documentaries. Okay? Yeah. And so I was like, what if they got one of my favorite documentaries on here? I just can't.
Well, the ones they make fun of, it's like a
genuinely
homage. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it is just so funny. It's my type humor for sure.
Gotcha.
So who do you have at number 8?
So I have a show that was originally, I'm pretty sure it started on TV, and I think Netflix took it over.
Okay.
I think it was on Sci-Fi on television, and I'm pretty sure Netflix took it over after like 3 seasons. It's called The Magicians. And you're already starting to see like what type of genre that I like. Out of like the really hippie space travel, Midnight Gospel, and then we move on to superheroes. Now we're moving on to magicians, and that's the name of it. So I don't think this show has any big actors in it, but the acting is definitely like superb for especially like sci-fi. I think when I got into it, I was watching it on demand.
So what's the show about?
Yeah, it's just about like these basic college students, you know, and it turns out that you can get into a, I guess, secret sorority, fraternity kind of club or whatever, and you can learn magic while you go to college. And it's pretty cool because it has to do with the end of the world. And
now it's magic like pull a rabbit out my hat magic, or magic like I can make you disappear and
like
float
wizardry and
okay.
like
gotcha.
Dealing with death and
right
the underworld. And
okay,
it's all like fantasy and magic, and they even like go to different planets. It's pretty wild everything they do.
How many seasons are there of the show?
So they have 6 now, I believe.
Wow.
And I'm not even caught up.
Hour-long episodes?
Yeah, they're pretty long. But that show's really good. It kind of reminds me of some current shows.
It's kind of like a Vampire Diaries type feel.
I've never seen Vampire Diaries, but
I know it's like college-age people.
They're doing some shows right now around like the whole college theme, magic theme.
Yeah.
I enjoy it, but I think this show kind of started that whole, you know, let's just make another episode with different characters kind of thing. I think they do that with a lot of shows.
Oh, every episode is a whole new thing? New people? Is what you're saying?
No. I'm just saying Netflix, I think they took the Magicians for what it was, and they were like, we can just twist it a little bit, change the characters, call it something else.
Oh, I see.
Because there's a show that I'm also watching called, I'll think of it in a minute, but
All right.
The show's good. Acting's good. So
Okay. So that's your number 8. My number 7 is this show called Atypical.
okay,
You ever seen this show?
I do really enjoy that show.
So, what Atypical is, it's this really funny sitcom about this kid with autism and his family. It has Michael Rappaport as the dad. I love him. He's a funny comedian.
And the mom. She's
The
pretty
mom,
big too.
yeah. What's her name? She's in The Hateful Eight.
Yeah. She's in a lot of big movies.
Look it up for me. But so yeah, it centers around this kid. He's a senior in high school at the beginning of the show, and he's got autism. And it's basically just what's her name?
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Jennifer Jason Leigh. That's right. But so she's also the voice of Miss Incredible. But so what the show's about is this kid and his family, and basically how his family goes about their life and how he goes about his life and how it all comes together. But the reason I have it at number 7 is, well, Izzy and I watched it, the whole thing, in like 2 weeks. But my brother also has autism. And you see, it's interesting to see like that type family dynamic that I've never seen anywhere else played out in the humorous way that I feel like people who really live in that life experience it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's not like some depressing show. It's actually really funny, and the kid, I can't think of the main dude's name, but the main kid with autism, like, they don't hide his autistic quirks, and they don't make fun of him either, but they're just naturally funny. Mm-hmm. Like, my brother just has this natural humor to him, but he doesn't necessarily know that he's being funny. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that show is really funny. It's like a really sweet show, a lot of sweet moments. It's one of those shows that makes you laugh and cry. I cried a bunch during that show. It gets you teary-eyed, you know.
I never cried, but yeah, it's...
I cry a lot during movies and TV. It doesn't take a lot to make me cry.
Okay.
But it's got a lot of...
in that.
It's got a lot of heartwarming stuff. Yeah, I don't like cry at anything in like real life, but when I watch a movie, I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my number 7. I would really recommend that show. Quick little 30-minute episodes.
I've also seen how many seasons are there?
I think 3, and
Yeah.
season 4 is coming out this year.
Yeah, I've seen all 3 seasons. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It wasn't one of those that I had a time period where I wanted to finish it like quickly, but if I had nothing to do, I would put it on because it was entertaining.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So what's your number 7?
The End of the Effing World. Have you seen that show?
I see it. When it first came up, I saw it always popping up at the top of my recommended, but I never clicked on it.
This show is wild, dude.
All right. What's it about?
It's about these 2 teenagers. I think one's like 17, one's 18 maybe. And they just go on these crazy adventures. It's one of those shows where everything takes place in like a period of like 3 days, but they stretch it out for a 10 episode season. Mm-hmm. And it gets to the point where the dude
You haven't even said what the show's about. Don't spoil it before you don't give me the premise.
The premise is just they go on this wild adventure together.
Because the world's ending?
This dude meets this girl, and this girl's like a psychopath dude.
Okay.
It really, and it's a British dark comedy, and she's just like, she doesn't mind cussing at all at 17, so she'll just say the F word every other word. Uh-huh. And she's just really funny.
All right.
Because she doesn't show how passionate she is about the other character, but you can tell like they're developing a bond.
Some chemistry, yeah.
And they eventually end up
what's the premise, though?
Falling in love. I don't think there is a premise.
Is the world ending? Is that...
No, the world's not ending, but you know how you get into a situation and it's like, oh, your world.
Oh, your personal world is ending. Or it feels
so that's
like that.
that's why they named it that. Because they're like building this connection. She has a bunch of trauma that happened in her life.
Gotcha. So it's a serious show? Like a drama, pretty much?
It's a comedy drama.
Dark comedy.
and they just pretty much take off. And I mean,
what
they
show?
abandon their school, their families,
Yeah.
and everything.
And they just go off.
They go doing stuff, and
Okay.
it leads to the finale where it's like, oh crap, like
All right, don't spoil it
Yeah.
because I may watch it.
it's
What
good.
what show would you compare it to that probably a lot of people have seen?
A lot of people have seen.
Yeah, like maybe the listeners could compare.
I don't think there's a show that I can
Oh,
think of.
Okay, so it's like one of a kind.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's hilarious just because it's British, and I love just anything that's not English or American, whatever
Right.
you would call it.
Oh, so you like the
Let me
you like
read-
the English version of The Office
Let me
better?
read the bio because it has been like a year since I watched
Okay,
it.
go
but
ahead.
I remember it was great.
Go ahead and give us a quick read through.
The End of the Effing World is a British dark comedy drama television program, and it has 8 parts in the first series. It premiered in the United Kingdom. Da 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 da. We can edit this out, maybe.
Probably not.
Where is the premise? I thought I had it. So James is a 17-year-old who believes he is a psychopath. He kills animals as a hobby, but grows bored as a practice.
Whoa, you skipped that part.
I said they were. They
Okay,
both,
I guess you did say they were psychopaths, but I wasn't thinking like, oh, like genuine psychopaths.
And I mean, I might have forgot that, but I remember it was just crazy.
Okay.
He decides he wants to try killing a human, which is what I was getting at. This is
I
kind of
see.
spoiling
okay,
a lot.
I get it. And so basically, the things about him keep building up to that,
And he meets this girl who's really mouthy, really rebellious.
and she's like, cool,
And he's like,
I'll come along on this journey with you.
and I didn't want to give off too much, which is why I didn't.
All right, well, I think
planning
you've done
on
a
it.
pretty good job kind of painting a picture of it
Just think,
without giving too much away.
for those who would be interested, just think of it as this adventure where you don't know what's going to happen. You're going to be on the edge of your seat, but you're also going to be laughing hysterically at the moments that.
On the way.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So my number 6 is BoJack Horseman.
I do love some BoJack.
BoJack Horseman is this animated show that's also a very dark comedy, and it centers around this horse, BoJack Horseman, who was really famous in this sitcom in the 80s, and now he's in present day. He's pretty much a has-been of a celebrity, and it's basically about him dealing with his addiction issues, his self-esteem issues, he's got a lot of issues. And over the show, it's actually really, really dark and messed up, but it's also super funny, and the humor is not even like cynical humor. Like Todd,
Pause. If this was a real scenario, it would not be humorous.
what do you mean?
He would still be a funny guy, but just watching this dude's life unfold
Yeah,
is terrifyingly sad.
right. Yeah, it's it really is. It's just a guy at the top falling straight to the bottom. They goes through his family issues, his friends, they all have their issues. His agent, his best friend, who he doesn't even think is his best friend, Todd. I love Mr. Peanut Butter, their
Yes.
dog neighbor, who's like really famous. Who he also had a show in the 80s, but he's more famous now. But yeah, it's super dark. It's pretty moving. It got me a little teary-eyed a couple times. It didn't have me crying like some of the other shows have, but it's really good. I think there were 6 seasons of it. It's finished now, so you can, if you start watching it now, you can watch the whole entire thing. I would highly recommend it. So many funny little gags in the background. But yeah, that is the last animated show on mine. And I mean, you got a lot of funny people into it. You got Will Arnett, Allison Brie, who will both come up later on my list. But yeah, I would highly recommend BoJack Horseman. So Caleb, go ahead and go with your number 6.
Well, I also love BoJack Horseman, but I have not finished it, so it did not make my list.
The final season's good.
I just found like it was just kind of like oh my gosh, do I relate to BoJack? I need to.
Oh.
Yeah, I need to fix some things.
I think
before
maybe maybe everyone has a little BoJack in them.
Yeah, not all of BoJack.
Yeah, or you'd be in prison.
You'd be in prison and you'd probably committed suicide by now.
Right. Like he had tried multiple times.
Probably shouldn't have made that joke. But number 6, I connected 2 shows together because they're kind of similar. The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor.
Gotcha.
I'm just gonna recommend both of those for my number 6.
Okay, yeah.
I will say I enjoyed The Haunting of Hill House way better because I just found it, for those of y'all, obviously, this is why we're making the list. If you haven't watched it, I would recommend it if you like thrillers, if you like scary, eerie,
It's like a horror series.
bone-chilling dramas.
Yeah. I had given it a try. Well, I started trying
Which
to
one?
watch the Bly Manor one because it just came out and it was at the top of my Netflix thing. I heard a lot of great reviews. I was like, you know what? I actually haven't really ever watched a scary show. Let me try to watch it. I got 20 minutes into the first episode. I didn't know what was going on. All these random people are talking to each other. There's
Yeah.
no plot that had been started. So I just probably figured maybe I needed to watch that first
Yeah.
series of it.
Well, and to me, you have to like shows like that because I think in a movie, you got to think about a 2.5-hour movie. They're not going to give everything away in the first.
Well, no, I'm not saying give it away, but in your 2.5-hour movie, in the first 20 minutes,
but you got to
the
think
adventure is about to begin, or you
gotta
know who the
think.
characters are at least.
this is a 10-hour movie.
Right. But still, you got to think if you're trying to on a TV show, you probably have about 20 minutes to sell someone on it because if you can't sell someone on your first episode, they're not about to watch 9 more. So I gave them 20 minutes of my unfiltered attention, and I was just like, who are all these people? Is there a main character? Who is this lady?
Yeah.
Nothing scary has happened yet.
And
So-
this might be the reason why, Midnight Gospel isn't on yours because you said you watched a couple, but it was like just rambling, and you're like, I guess get to the point or just
Give me something.
do something.
Yeah, give me something to lean me into.
With me,
the
I
next
like
scene,
shows
next
like
episode.
that. Not necessarily like background stuff because like The Office or anything like that, but you have to really follow it. You have to really be invested in the long run.
Yeah.
And to me, the acting was just so great, and the character development really shines in that show because by the end, like halfway through, like I was in love with the actors. I don't know if I would say in love, like what you're probably thinking, but
I'm sure people. I don't think anyone was
Yeah.
thinking you were genuinely in love with them. I think you're good.
you have strong.
You like the actors. You would watch them in other things.
No, you like the
Or
characters.
you do love them.
No, you like the characters and who they are in that show.
Oh, so you
Not
like
the
you love the
actors.
characters. You
Yeah.
don't love the actors. Okay, I got you.
They act so well that the characters you fall in love with.
I see. Okay. All right, so now we are going into our top 5s. I feel like there's definitely 2 that we are going to have the same. And I'd be really surprised if we don't. And if we don't, I'm just going to assume that you forgot to put these 2 on your list.
I'm thinking 1
I got 2 for sure.
for sure.
I'm going to say 1 and you're going to say, oh, how did I forget this one?
I know you haven't.
All right, so I'll go ahead. So these are our top 5s.
Okay.
My number 5 is Community. Community is a sitcom. It's made by the guy who made Rick and Morty. It stars a young Childish Gambino. It stars Alison Brie, who I mentioned in BoJack Horseman. It stars Ken Jeong from the Hangover movies. It's just a super funny show. It takes it's about all these people who go to a community college, and they all end up in this study group. And they basically all become really great friends, and, it's like The Office. There's a new adventure, something crazy going on every episode. But this episode kind of takes it to a heightened realism that The Office doesn't. The Office is pretty grounded of a show, but on this show, Like they'll have like a sci-fi episode where everyone's pretending they're in Star Wars, and it's just crazy stuff. There's an episode where Abed's character gets hit in the head, and all of a sudden he sees everything like one of those old-timey Rudolph Christmas movies. One episode's like a musical, but my favorite episodes is that pretty much the season finales of every season they do a paintball episode where the premise will be, I mean, it could be anything like, hey, we're gonna have a paintball game, winner gets $1,000, but everyone in the whole community college takes it so seriously, and they will parody like a western, and all of a sudden they'll go in and the cafeteria has just become like a saloon, and everyone's just acting like cowboys and stuff, and all the characters are buying into it. There's one where they parody Mad Max, and it's not paintball, it's the floor is lava, and it's like last person to not touch the floor wins. And so they're like betraying each other. You have these people, they've tied desks to their feet so they can walk, you know what I'm saying, down the hallways. And they're like, oh God, chair walkers. And they're fighting them. It's a super funny show. It's really creative. I mean, you can definitely tell that it's the guy who made Rick and Morty who's making it. Rick and Morty has crazy storylines every episode. This show has the craziest storylines. And all the actors, you know how you said you fell in love with all the actors or characters of Bly Manor? You'll fall in love with all the characters of Community. Yeah. They're just all funny in their own way. They're all lovable. It's one of my favorite sitcoms.
But would you relate it to The Office?
In the fact that it is a sitcom that was on NBC and that it's 30 minutes. And that, because you have like that group of characters. But in The Office, you kind of focus more on like Steve Carell's character or Jim, and they do the things, and then all the other characters kind of in the background. That's they have like one line. All these characters it's all 5 of them, 6 of them going into an adventure together. So they're all like, imagine if The Office had Stanley as like a really main character, or Phyllis as a main character.
That's what I was about to say. I've heard a lot of people talking about Community, and I was surprised that it's been around for a minute. I guess because I don't watch live television that much anymore. But I think my Sunday school teacher, she was mentioning that show as her and her husband's top show right now. Yeah. And I turned it on. I only watched like 10 minutes of it the other night.
Well, and that first season you have like everyone meeting, but once you get to like season 2 and it's like, we've been friends for a while.
But the intro is funny. There's some big actors in it, and I think it takes The Office to a new level. Yeah. So I'm excited to watch that.
Yeah, it's really good. And I would recommend it.
It makes me realize how lame my college was. Just hearing you say all that.
Right.
Like it sounds like summer camp just 24/7 at this community college.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's like a community college, so you got like an old man in the class with you who's like, and he's just super funny, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's not just, it's people from all walks of life. People are all there for different reasons, But yes, very funny show. So that's my number 5. What's your number 5?
All right. I think you have seen this show. It's called Maniac. Stars Jonah Hill. Have you watched this show?
I did watch it. Yeah. I think I watched like 5 episodes of it.
It also stars Emma Stone, really big actress.
Yes, Oscar winner. But no, it didn't make my list.
Really?
No.
You didn't enjoy it? And
I can't remember anything about it.
Well, here's the thing. Going back to like the genres of our list, it ties in as well because the whole plot of it is like another 10-day event type thing. It's not like they skip to every holiday or whatever like the Community might do or The Office. But it's like this pharmaceutical trial, and they're getting people to test out this drug, and this dude's like already a drug addict, so he's like, you know what? And I think the whole point of doing this pharmaceutical trial was they guarantee like you will not be hooked on whatever you're hooked on by the end of it. But during the 10 phase, let's see. It was a 3-day trial, and I'm pretty sure there was like 5 phases of it. over the 3 days. And they would take a pill every day, but they would have these extreme hallucinations and
it would
dreams.
be like it would all be like a different genre almost.
And it would be super real. Imagine just hopping into a dream.
Like, aren't they like not like in nights or something?
And yeah, and I believe they kick off people. Like only 2 people actually could do the final phase because like you had to pass certain steps or whatever, and it gets insane. And I like shows like that. It was kind of like a thriller.
Yeah, you like those psychological thrillers.
Dark thrillers that are mind-boggling. I like anything like that.
Okay. All right, so that's your number 5. All right, my number 4, you definitely have on your list.
Okay.
There's no way you don't have it on your list. Now, you may have it higher ranked than I do.
Is it?
My number 4 is Black Mirror.
That's wild. My number 4 is Black Mirror.
Really? Okay, so let's just talk about it together. So I'll explain what it is. So Black Mirror is basically just the Twilight Zone for modern day. Every episode's different. They're longer than the Twilight Zone. They're an hour each.
Mm.
But it's all just a crazy, like every episode's just this crazy
like the
scenario.
Twilight Zone.
Yeah, exactly. It's a big question.
And different actors.
Yes, and they're good.
Plots.
Right, great actors in it. Every episode you have like a super well-known actor in it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite episode?
Definitely some memorable episodes.
Yeah.
The pig episode.
That's one of my favorite ones.
Is
not my favorite, but one of my favorite ones because the stakes feel so real. You know what I'm saying?
Like I could see something like that happen.
I swear, that's what I'm saying.
You know, I remember when it first came out a few years ago, or however long it was. I think it was longer, honestly. You remember watching that scene, and it was so.
Yeah.
They didn't edit anything.
Yeah, he was having sex with the pig.
Why you gotta ruin? Well, I guess you watched 2 minutes of it. You watched 2 minutes of it, and you
it's the first episode that we spoiled.
Yes.
So the premise, we'll spoil the first episode. None of the episodes have anything to do with each other.
Though.
It's not? Oh, okay. Well, this is one of the episodes in the first season, but
I think it's the most.
Basically, it's the prime minister
in the first season.
The daughter gets kidnapped. They say, "Hey, we'll release your daughter if
it's not his daughter either,
or the princess of the princess." It's like a whole political thing,
or whatever.
And it's like, "We'll release her if you live stream a video of you having sex with a pig." And at first he's like, "What? There's no way." And pretty much it just becomes very real. Like, yo, they're not gonna release this person unless you have sex with this pig. Everyone, it's this whole political battle. Like, people are like, just polls. Do it. Yeah.
There's like a poll on Twitter, like, what would you do?
And so then there's an announcement that comes out. It's like, okay, he's like about to go live and
everybody
do it.
Turn it off.
He ends up getting convinced to do it. And so basically, the girl gets released before he even does it. But she gets released in the middle of the street in the biggest city. But there's no one there to see that she's gotten freed because everyone is watching the TVs of him having sex with the pig. So he didn't even have to do it in the end. So all the episodes are kind of just like crazy like that. Yeah. Now, most of the episodes are a little more like techie. Like my favorite episode is the USS Callister one, the Star Trek one, where they're like in the game. You upload your consciousness into the game. All the stuff like that.
I think my top 2 is either the White Christmas, where it's like the snow globe one, or the San Junipero.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
That one, I could see them trying to make something like that happen, where you just are living on forever.
What'd you think of that one where the 2 dudes are like playing Xbox together and then they
I remember we watched it and I said, Nick, did you watch this week's Black Mirror episode? And you were like, yep.
And I said, you want to play some Mortal Kombat? All right.
Oh gosh.
So that was both our number 4s. All right, now we're getting into our top 3. So look, I'm going to go ahead and do a rundown of everything I've said so far before we get into our top 3.
Okay.
So this is from 4 to 10.
And maybe we can even edit it where, like on the video,
yeah,
we can do the rundown and then just have that.
All right, so from 4 to 10, I have Black Mirror, Community, BoJack Horseman, Atypical, Documentary Now, Middleditch and Schwartz, and Big Mouth.
Yeah, my 4 to 10. We got Black Mirror, Maniac, The Haunting of Hill House, Haunting of Bly Manor. Ties into that. End of the Effing World, The Magicians, Umbrella Academy, and Midnight Gospel.
All right, so now we're into our top 3.
Top 3. Wah, wah, wah.
Here we go. My number 3 is the funniest show that has ever been on Netflix.
Okay.
My number
I wonder
3.
if it's the same.
My number 3 is Arrested Development.
Oh.
I feel like I know which one you're thinking of, and that was an honorable mention for me. My number 3 is Arrested Development. One of the funniest sitcoms of all time with the funniest actors in it. You got Jason Bateman. You got Will Arnett.
Mm-hmm.
You got Tony Hale. That's the dude who's the voice of Forky in the new Toy Story movie. You got Michael Cera.
Yeah.
But it's a show about this family who's very privileged and rich because they own this real estate company. But their dad is just a criminal. He's always like screwing people over. He's always in jail. So you have Michael, Jason Bateman's character, basically holding the whole family together because everyone else in the family is crazy. Job, Will Arnett's character, he's like this wannabe magician. His sister is just this, I don't know. Oh God, I forgot about Tobias.
It's hard for me to like hop on because I haven't watched the show.
So one of the highlights of it is that the comedy flows like a joke will be planted in an early episode in the season, and it will have the biggest, funniest payoff on the season finale. Like you always wonder, like, what does it have to do with anything? And then all of a sudden, it all makes sense. So like,
kind of like in The Office when earlier in the seasons it talks about Michael and he was donating all this money whenever the kids reach a certain grade, and then it gets to that episode.
Yes, but even more so though, like even more in your face than that.
Okay.
Like, I'll give an example. This is totally not PC anymore. This came out in the early 2000s, but it's funny. So basically, this whole thing this is how like all the jokes are pretty much, and there's a lot of little jokes in between. But so Michael thinks that he's like his family's getting stalked by some British spy or whatever, and everyone's like, "Yeah, you need to be on the lookout." And then he starts dating this girl who's like British, and he's like, "There's no way."
Are you about to spoil it for me?
It's just a joke that I'm spoiling. Like it's like a 4-episode arc.
Okay.
It's just the one that just popped in my head. It's not even the funniest one, because this is probably one of the least funnier ones. So I'll go ahead and kind of tell you how they play these jokes out a little bit. So they think they're being stalked by this British spy. They end up being like, "Oh, we think his name's Mr. F." And he's like, "What?" And then he sees his girlfriend's wristband, and he's thinking she's like this Olympic athlete. She's like, "Yeah, I've been in the Olympics." And he's like, "Wow, that's amazing." Yeah. And all these little hints are dropped. And then she sees her wristband, and it says Mr. F. And she's been being chased down by her dad the whole time. And she's like, he's like, "Oh my God." And then he like pretty much is like, I can't believe this. You know, your dad's Mr. F. You've been spying on me. But it turns out that her wristband just said MRF, and it stood for mentally retarded female. And when she said that she was in the Olympics, she was talking about the Special Olympics. So, and like the whole time you're thinking, this girl is a little off. What's going on with her? And then like at that point, it all comes through. And there's one like the lawyer. Like the lawyer's blind that's like suing them.
Yeah.
And they're like break into her house and steal this stuff. And like you have Tobias, they're like his weird brother-in-law who's a never nude, meaning he never gets naked. He always has these pair of Daisy Dukes on. He literally never gets naked.
That's funny to me.
But so he's like breaking into her house, like doing all this like Mission Impossible stuff. And then it turns out she wasn't blind. It was just watching this guy just act like a fool. It's just the like basically the whole show
Yeah.
is always just misunderstandings, pretty
Okay.
much, and they're just always hilarious. All the characters are awful people.
Kind
They're
of
funny to
like
laugh at.
normal life, how you would there's so many things that can be misunderstood.
Right. I didn't do the show justice in explaining
Yeah.
it. You have to watch it.
I would have to watch it.
They came
that
up.
scene that you were talking about. I was like holding back the laughter because I'm imagining it in my head,
Right.
and it
Tobias is. There's one episode where have you seen Mrs. Doubtfire?
yes.
So he's like trying to
Great
reconnect
movie.
with his daughter. He's like, my daughter didn't like me. So he's like, oh, I know. I'll dress up as this like nanny and take care of her. And so he like dresses up and he like knocks on the door. He's like, hello. And like they're like, hey. He's like, I'm your new nanny. And they basically just keep making him do all these chores. Like, hey, can you clean up the kitchen? And like he's like, anything? And he's like singing like Mary Poppins while he does it. But then like it turns out they knew it was him the whole entire time, and they just were messing with him.
Oh my goodness.
So yes, I
There-
love that show.
Is there like cuts where the viewer is like in a secret like camera, like how The Office does, and they like tell them things?
No, it's not like they don't have interviews like that. It's just
But you can
shot
understand
like a show.
that they know. They obviously know.
Yes, like whenever she comes in, she's like, "Hello, everyone," and they leave. They all like look and they're like,
What is he doing?
They're like, should we say something to Dad? And they're just like, let him have fun. So yes, I love Arrested Development. So all you people who are on Netflix and missing out on your Office fix, that is a show to jump into. I love that show.
We actually have a very different taste in our Netflix show.
I see that. All right, what's your number 3? I feel
My
like I went on
number
that for a
3
minute.
is just a 2-letter word, the OA.
Okay, this was a show that you tried to put me on, and I never watched it.
I know. And
So go ahead and explain
did
what
you,
it is.
You never watched
I
one
never
episode?
clicked it.
Wow. Well, if you're one of those guys that really falls in love with the show or gives it 20 minutes, well, I'm pretty sure there's like a really, really like.
I think that was at a time where I already had like kind of a drama show I was watching,
Okay.
and you can't really have two at the same time. I feel.
Well, this show is not necessarily bad in terms of like nudity and stuff, but I will say in the first 10 minutes there's a major banging session that's really unnecessary and uncalled for.
Okay.
So if that doesn't turn you on for the next 10 episodes you're about to watch, Nick, I don't know what will do it for you.
Okay.
So the OA is just a show about it mainly follows this one chick, and I'll spoil it for you. OA stands for Original Angel.
Mhm.
It's another sci-fi thriller suspense show that made it on my list, and I just can't get enough of them because I believe the whole plot, they just do so much with it, and there's so many turns that it can take, and this show literally I've been binge watched in like a day because I don't think I was working at the time, and I was so ready for the second season. And it's basically about these people that have near-death experiences, and the main character does do that, and then they meet others, but I'm not going to spoil the way that she meets these other people with NDEs because it gets crazy. So
Okay. The OA. Maybe I'll get to it.
I think you'll like it. It has pretty big names in it as well.
Well, give me one of the actors.
So I didn't do as much research as you did, but I will look up the OA and tell you this guy who I'm thinking of. Jason Isaacs. He's if you see him, you'll know who it is. He's pretty big.
Okay, yeah. He's like that guy that's
He's in The
He's like that
Patriot.
guy that's in movies and you're like, who? What's his name? I've seen him somewhere.
Yeah.
He's that guy.
He's literally like in all the big action films.
Right, and he's
Harry
just like the
Potter.
background
He's in
guy.
The Patriot.
Right.
A Cure for Wellness. We're
That's-
gonna have to talk
yeah,
about
we
that.
could do a whole podcast on that movie.
Yeah, he was. I guess he was a teacher in Harry Potter. I mean, if you're out there and you're a big Jason Isaacs fan, I'm sorry that I forgot his name, but definitely a bad guy in that way,
Okay.
and definitely makes the show with his acting and his just who they create out of him.
All right.
Number 2, Nick.
My number 2 is Love is Blind.
No, shut up.
Yes.
No, it's not.
I love that show. That
No,
is
you
the
don't.
best reality TV show ever created. The premise is you got 20 single guys, 20 single girls, and they basically are kind of dating each other, but they don't ever see each other. They go into these pods where you don't see the other person, you just talk to them. And the only way you proceed through the show is you basically are talking to these people without seeing them, and you have to agree, like, oh my God, this is the person I want to marry. And this takes place over 2 weeks. All they're doing all day is just talking to people. And some will be talking to like 5 different people, and you got the girls in their house and the boys in their house. So you got some girls that be like, oh my God, I think Brad was about to tell me he loved me today. And you got this other girl like, I was just talking to Brad, and I thought he was going to tell me that too. So you got this drama. But then, and that's just the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Then
I've only watched 2 episodes.
you have the people decide like, oh my God, this is who I want to marry. And they're like pressed all up on the wall. They can't see the other person at all. And then it's like, okay, so you choose, that's who you want to marry. Then the first time they see each other is when they propose.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, I think they actually propose in the pods maybe. Or maybe they do like another propose when they see each other. So they like open the doors, they both walk out. It's the first time they're seeing each other. And you can tell that some people are really excited about how their other person looks. And some people are like, oh, this is how you look.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they all go to a honeymoon suite together. Like all the couples who get hooked up. And you got like everyone who's watching, I don't know who I'm talking about, Jessica. She was all up on this other guy. And then he chose this other girl. So she chose this other guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the whole time, the whole show, you can tell that she's like when she would get drunk, she would go after this other guy. But he's engaged to this other girl, right?
That's weird.
So you have all this drama.
Yeah.
And then
that would be entertaining.
And then on the final episode,
towards the end.
yeah, and then they like live together for a little while. And then on the final episode, it's the wedding where all the families are there. And then when they're at the wedding, they say I do or I don't, and that's their decision. And some say I don't, some say I do. There's some surprises.
Yeah.
There's a lot of drama. It's literally the best premise for a reality show, and I watched the whole thing in maybe 2 nights. Like, it is so good.
I can't get over that. That for the
It's
listeners,
funny to make fun of. It literally has the best reality TV show villain I've seen in a while.
For the listeners, here's how you know Nick is in a relationship and I am not in one, because that did not make my list and was not even in my mind.
That would have been that would have been a choice for me. I love reality. I love laughing at stupid people on reality TV. I think that's why everyone watches it. People don't watch The Bachelor because they're like, oh my God, they're so cute together. They watch it for the drama. You want to watch all the girls fighting each other.
Those shows are a lot of drama.
Yeah, Love is Blind is the apex of reality TV.
I'll say one thing about that show. In my last relationship, it was like 4 or 5 months in, I hadn't said the L word. But on that show, they say it fairly quickly before they even see each other. It pressured me into saying that word.
Oh.
Because here I am. That show had just came out when we were together.
Dang, if they love each other for 4 days, what am I doing
Here's
wrong?
what happened. We were on the couch and we were trying to find something to watch. She said, let's watch this. Homie says, I love you. And I'm like, babe, I love you too, I guess. I didn't say I guess, but...
You said it during the show, though?
Yeah, because I felt pressured.
God. That is terrible.
I felt like I had to, like... We were probably thinking about it, but...
So the first time you told your girlfriend... The first time you told your girlfriend you loved her is because you were watching a show where a guy said that he loved her, and you're like... All right. Hey, I love you.
There wasn't anything romantic about it, but it was funny in the moment.
Yeah.
Because it was like, dang.
It's funny in this moment, too.
Dang, they take a minute to say it there, and they're genuine about it. Shoot.
Yeah, they're like crying, you know what I'm saying? All teary-eyed, laying on
and
the
there
ground.
I am, like, well,
I'm looking right at you, and
might as
say
well
it.
say it. But we
That's
saw
funny.
how that turned out. The love was lost,
That's funny. I am getting a little peek at your number 2,
which
and
got me excited.
You
I forgot about the show.
I did forget about the show, so I'm gonna actually redact. me
You
say
might want to
this.
replace Big Mouth with this.
All right, so listeners, I'm taking out Big Mouth and I'm replacing it
I
with,
love this show.
with Caleb's number 2. I
Honestly,
love this show too.
it should go higher up on the list.
It just was so long ago that it came out.
Yeah.
But go ahead and say what it is.
All right, so it got me excited when Nick started out. I was like, and then he said, "Love is blind," and I was like, "Well, that's messed up." It's weird how we both put romance as our number 2, even though that was the only genre.
All right, say the show. Say the show.
Love.
Love.
And for y'all listening, it's not the porno on Netflix that's also called Love.
Oh, okay.
There's like 2 of them. But this one stars Gillian Jacobs and
her.
Paul Rust, 2 really big actresses. So 69%.
Gillian Jacobs is from Community.
Yeah, she's on there.
Yeah, she's like the main girl.
Wow. It says 69% of people like this show, and it has 94% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes, it's a Judd Apatow made show. Judd Apatow made 40-Year-Old Virgin, Super Bad.
So you know a lot more. I think that's kind of your niche. Like you really like.
Well, I'm trying to paint a picture for the listeners of what the show is kind of like. So if you like all those kind of comedies, like Knocked Up, all those comedies that came out in like the 2008 to 2011 range, you're going to like this show because it's basically that in a series version.
So I'll kind of explain it for the listeners. Obviously, most of you do not know me and Nick, but I have a very dry sense of humor that unless you really get to know me, you probably won't understand me, and you'll probably just think I'm really weird. But I think Nick, he finds my humor funny sometimes. Maybe he's making fun of me, but I think in this show, the whole premise idea is that these 2 people are coming out of these relationships, finding each other in an unexpected, like you would not expect these 2 people to be together.
You got one girl who's very like alternative, very indie, very like against the system.
She does anything.
Right. And then you got this one guy who's very
sticks to the script.
Yes, he's
he,
nerdy, geeky.
He's the biggest nerd. He does not go out and do things that.
And they both rub off on each other well, and then in negative ways.
Not in the beginning.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They rub off on each other in negative ways, but they also rub off on each other
like,
in positive ways.
You know, this person, he definitely makes me a better person because, like, we hang out. And then they fall in love, but it's like back and forth.
And it's super. I feel like their little like arguments they would get into are like very realistic too. Yeah, like, it's like little like bickering type things.
Because the type of humor show it is, comedy, it's just normal life. Everything's really dry humor. There's not really any jokes made. It's just the conversations and
the characters are funny.
Yes.
Like what they say is funny. It's not like they're saying like set up, punchline.
Yes.
It's just that the characters are so
this
unique.
Show almost made number 1 because this is like probably besides my number 1. This show I've actually went back and watched it multiple times.
I think I'm gonna probably go back and watch it. I completely forgot.
Maybe we
about
should
it.
do that at the same time,
Maybe.
and then we can.
I love that show though.
We can continue talking about it on the podcast because to me, I find a lot of similarities with the main actor Paul Rust.
I can see that.
I think we kind of have the same experiences with our love and our relationships that we get in. And he's just a really quirky guy who's really awkward at times and really dry humor. And he kind of doesn't really go off the script too much.
Yeah. Yes, that's a great show. I can't believe I forgot about it.
I love that show.
My new number 10. All right, we've both gotten to number 1. If this isn't your number 1, I'm going to be really surprised.
Yeah, and I think it is because I peeked at your list.
All right, let's say it at the same time.
All right, 1,
2, 3.
Okay.
Stranger Things.
Yes.
I love Stranger Things.
Too. It's one of the other shows that I've went back and
Yeah.
watched the season over because Just the character development in that show and how
Yeah, you want to talk about characters
how
you fall
witty.
in love with? Yeah.
that show is witty. It has a little bit of every genre mixed in,
Mm-hmm.
but I think what makes the show so good, the next season you watch is better than the first season, and then you watch the third season,
It
and
builds.
it's better.
Every season
I've
that's come
never
out, I've
seen-
all watched in one sitting.
Yeah, one sitting.
Yeah.
Damn.
I'd like start it like
Do you like take a day off of work?
no,
just
I
to
would
do
like
this?
start it like 8 o'clock at night, or no, I'd like get off. I'd be like, oh, Stranger Things is out. I'm getting off. Get home at 6.
I
and I'd
love-
watch it to like 4
I
a.m.
love
or
that
whatever.
feeling. This is probably the only show where I'm like, crap, I gotta work today, but I know it's coming out today,
Yep.
and I do not make any plans. I just go home and watch.
I don't even think we need to explain what Stranger Things
think
is. It's
most
become its
people-
own phenomenon. Even if you haven't watched
Right.
it, you know of it. You know
It'll go down in history as like
it pays such a
it made Netflix almost.
yes. It made Netflix originals. Like once that show came out, all of a sudden it's like, oh dang, maybe Netflix can put out some good shows and we don't have to just watch.
Who's your favorite character?
Ooh,
It's hard because they
I love them all.
introduce some other characters.
I
as
love
the
them
show
all.
goes
But
on.
if I had to pick one, I'd probably say maybe Dustin.
I like Dustin.
But I also like
Will.
Will's mom.
Yeah.
But not in like, oh, she's funny.
No.
But in like, oh, I love the stepdad
Mhm.
or the boyfriend.
Mhm.
I don't want to spoil if people haven't watched season 2. Is that season 2? He's good. That is just a great show.
Yeah.
Like after each episode, you have to watch the next one. It's so
yeah.
hard to say.
It
All
leaves
right,
you.
let's stop
It leaves you on a cliffhanger.
every time.
What's cool about it is you start off, it answers a cliffhanger. Halfway through, there's another cliffhanger.
And then right at the end, it almost answered it, but it doesn't.
And then you're left with another cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So it's like 2 every episode, which is unreal for a
And
show to like.
It's genuinely funny. It's like a really funny show. And
With
it's also
kids.
it's got really
Kids are the main actors.
It's got really intense suspense too, and that's a hard bridge to gap. Like funny kids
Mm-hmm.
and intense, scary horror.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me a lot of like the Goonies
Yeah.
with all these kids getting into stuff. Kind of like a little bit of E.T.
But like this is stuff that the government should be like tracking, and these kids are like trying to figure it out.
Right? Yeah.
As like these kids should not be doing this shit.
Yeah.
Like-
It's hard to even summarize it after the whole
Yeah.
3 seasons because the story has expanded so much.
I
But
almost didn't even put it on the list because I was like,
is there just like a given?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think most of the viewers and listeners have heard about Stranger Things.
If you have Netflix, you've
And
watched
you-
Stranger Things, right?
The reason I did put it on the list though was because I was in Sunday school today, and there were people in there. I was talking about the next podcast we were doing, and they were like, "I've never watched Stranger Things," and I'm just
What?
like, "How have you been on this planet for the last 4
Yeah,
years?"
I'd have to walk away at that point. Like, it's literally one of the best shows.
But their reasoning was they didn't really like gore and all that.
it's not that gory.
That's what I told them.
It's just a perfect blend of sci-fi horror humor.
Mm-hmm.
Literally the
Yeah.
perfect blend. All right, so we had 2 similarities: Stranger
Yeah.
Things and Black Mirror. Well, 3 because I'm adding Love as my number 10.
Mm.
So I'm going to go through my top 10 list, counting down from 10 to 1.
Okay.
So here's my complete list of Netflix shows I recommend. Number 10, Love, which was Caleb's number 2. Number 9, Middleditch and Schwartz. Number 8, Documentary Now. Number 7, Atypical. Number 6, BoJack Horseman. Number 4, Black Mirror. Number 3, Arrested Development. Number 2, Love is Blind. And number 1, Stranger Things.
All right. For my list, we got number 10, Midnight Gospel. Then we're going number 9, Umbrella Academy. Number 8, The Magicians. Number 7, End of the Effing World. Number 6, The Haunting series, Haunting a Hill House and Bly Manor. Number 5, Maniac. Number 4, Black Mirror. Number 3, The OA. Number 2, Love. Number 1, Stranger Things.
All right.
We have talked quite a bit.
Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap the pod up here.
And we would normally have a recommendation, but
we just gave you 20 of them.
Since we did give you 20, that will be our rec.
I'll give one little recommendation
Okay.
before we go. I watched this documentary last night. Let me look up the title.
Or I'll give a rec. Always have a good snack while you're watching these shows. You will get hungry and you won't want to leave your couch. What's your go-to snack, real quick? For if you're about to binge Stranger Things, well, what you gonna be munching on, sipping on?
I love Kind bars.
Kind bars. Ooh.
I love Kind
Healthy.
bars. They're like these really expensive granola bars.
Yeah.
I love the dark chocolate sea salt ones, but they're just really expensive. But I was in the grocery store the other day and I found frozen Kind bars. It's the exact same, but it's like an ice cream sandwich, and they're the same price.
Oh my god.
So I have.
That sounds delicious.
So
you
I have
got some?
I have one left.
Oh my gosh. I might have to
So that's what I would
steal
go.
that.
All right, so my rec is this documentary I watched last night. It's called The End Inside the Last Days of the Obama White House. And it's basically about like all the random people that work in the White House that nobody thinks about, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like the people who set up all the dinners, the people who write the speeches, the guy who like, you know, makes sure all of Michelle Obama's phone calls are answered. And it's basically about like after Trump got elected and them being like, oh dang,
What happened to those people?
Exactly. Or it's like our job ends in a month. What are we about to do?
Because it's not like Trump's gonna hire them all.
Right, exactly. He's gonna have his own people.
Yeah.
But it was just really interesting seeing it from that view, especially during a transition period. They are all talking about like, we're helping Trump and them come in, like how Bush did for us when we came in. And it was just really interesting to see that side of it, especially since we're literally experiencing that same moment now.
Well, not exactly.
Yeah, no, definitely not exactly. Yeah, if you watch this, you'll be like, huh, that's how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
But it was just very interesting to see it from that perspective. I would highly recommend it. Yeah, so that's my recommendation.
Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It's cool to see that they're all normal people. Like it would be all the speechwriters, and they go, "Hey, y'all want to go get a drink after this?" And they're at a bar.
I like documentaries like that where it's not like the people are interesting in any way. They're just normal people, but you're hearing a different point of view.
Right. Like, yeah, it was
that
interesting.
You didn't know.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the Fire Festival documentary.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Where they're like talking about the workers on the island and their experiences with
there's
it.
no beds. There's no
that
tents
was
or whatever.
the most interesting part for me to like, dang, they really did that to those people and left their place a wreck.
I wonder what those people are up to right now. The Firefest guy.
The Firefest guy?
Yeah.
He went to prison.
Is he still there?
Let's look it up and then that will wrap it up.
Yeah, look it up.
It was him and Ja Rule, but Ja Rule was...
Yeah, Ja Rule was fine. Because Ja Rule, he was just like the celebrity they got hired to be like the face of it, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. So his name was Billy McFarland. Screw that guy. It says, has been placed in solitary confinement, his lawyer said Friday after McFarland participated in a new This dude's an idiot. This dude...
All right, explain what you just read.
All right, so we were thinking he went to prison for doing all that, but it looks like he was actually placed in solitary confinement. Not for that, but he started a podcast about the crimes that he did.
He's just confessing, and then I guess that I was like,
they
hey,
found out more.
Yeah.
What an idiot.
Oh God, that is funny.
Yeah, let me get on this podcast.
Was he already in jail and then he started the podcast and they put him in solitary confinement? Can you have a podcast while you're in jail?
I'm pretty sure he was like free, and the cops were like, no. Yeah, but he was sentenced to 6 years in federal prison. So
was this good dude just running a podcast out of his cell?
How do you do that?
I don't know. Have you seen like the TikToks where it'll be like a prisoner and they're all doing the dance? Have you seen that? and everyone's like up in the cell, and they're all like doing the little dances, and like all the comments are like, "How did they get a phone in here?"
No, I'm
and
not.
they're like, "Free my mans." All right. Anything you want to add before we go?
It says he's currently incarcerated, but this said
So yeah, he probably was in jail, and they put him in solitary confinement because he was
it was
running a podcast.
it was
about himself.
released. I guess somebody interviewed him while he was in jail. It wasn't his podcast.
I got you.
But what did they say in that podcast for them to?
I don't know. All right. Well, let's wrap up. You have
quite
anything to
interesting.
add before we go?
I just want to add, like, for us to be publicized, we have 60 listeners, I believe, for the first podcast.
That's pretty good.
Let's try doubling that.
Oh gosh.
Doubling that with the second episode. Let's try to get our Facebook page to at least 100 likes.
Make sure that if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, you're giving us 5 stars.
Yeah.
Subscribing.
Subscribing.
Anywhere you can leave a rating or a comment, leave one.
Do that. And share it with your friends if you find us funny.
Yeah.
Or word of mouth. It doesn't have to be, we're not trying to make you put a post about us. We just want our
if you got a friend who, I've seen people post,
Yeah.
hey, I need Netflix show recommendations.
Yeah.
Send them this pod, send them the video.
For sure.
And help them out, help us out.
That's right.
Win-win.
And we will have a special episode next week.
Very special
So,
episode.
If you tune in next week, it's going to be quite the surprise.
Lots of surprises, lots of controversial opinions.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah. All right.
So as always,
I'm Nick.
and I'm Caleb.
And we're your two new best friends. See you guys next week.